let's get into some of these hot starts that we have seen. Again, just a week and a half into the season, so we don't want to overreact. But Wander Franco definitely giving me FOMO right now. Hitting 351, 4 homers, 9 RBIs. Again, the competition, not great, but reminding us all why just about a year ago, we were like, he could be an MVP candidate. Matt Chapman, 475, 2 homers, 14 RBIs. Bryan Reynolds, 405, 5 homers, 14 RBIs. And I want to mention Jordan Walker here, too. 9 game hitting streak to begin his career, hitting 353, 2 homers, 8 RBIs. So out of these four, Franco, Chapman, Reynolds, Walker, who do you wish you would have more coverage of on your rosters?
It's definitely the first and the last guy you mentioned, Franco and Walker, who are both going to check that same box, right? At one point, Franco was I think, the highest regarded prospect in baseball, and Walker was certainly high up on the prospect list, and he announced his potential in spring training. And it was interesting when a guy like Walker comes up, 20 years old. We know the way teams usually handle these things. If Walker had gotten off to a really poor start, he was 3 for 37 or something, it just gives the team an excuse to say, okay, he needs some seasoning. He's putting pressure on himself. Let's send him down to AAA and let him go bang up things there. Because he's off to such a good start, and man, he looks the part too. I talked about how O'Neal Cruz, you can just identify him even if you knew nothing about baseball. I think Jordan Walker's that type of guy too. Now I'm thinking, when does he move up in the lineup? I know the Cardinals have a
Yeah.
deep lineup, but Jordan Walker's not made to bat eighth all season. I think eventually that's going to correct itself. In the case of Franco, and again, we talked about they played 3 really weak teams, but whatever, you still going to hit the ball. It's not like everybody else, bats 400 against those guys. The question with Franco has always been category juice. It's like, well, okay, maybe he'll win a batting title, but how many home runs are you getting? Is he interested in running? I know his 2 steals came early in the season. He hasn't run much lately, although you don't run a lot when you hit home runs. And I think he has 3 home runs in his last 4 games. I don't think I have Franco anywhere, and that's killing me because it looks like. And again, I talked about the infield being, shortstop maybe being a deeper position in the preseason. So a lot of times I just saw guys at different price points that made more sense
Yeah.
to me. And now I'm
Agree.
thinking, I think I missed the boat on Franco. I want to mention on Chapman. Still doesn't turn 30 until the end of this month. And he's always been a guy who had power, and the batting average would be like in the 235, 245 range. I think his career average is 243 or something like that. We know he's got that great defense. I've always liked Chapman. He's a guy I didn't draft because it just seemed like other third basemen around his price I liked more. But and again,
Yep.
I don't want to radically change my opinion of Matt Chapman from 9 games, but he's just a good baseball player who I can easily see. When your career average is 243, that means everybody's afraid. Oh no, what if he hits 225? Well, what if he hits 255 or 260? That's in
Hmm.
the range of reasonable outcomes too. We know the
Yep.
power is going to play. We know he's in a good lineup. So I wish I had some Chapman. The case of Bryan Reynolds, I wonder, what do you think the odds are that he's a Pirate on August 1st? 50-50, 60-40? I mean, he's somebody who they've looked to extend long term. I'm not sure if he's interested in staying in Pittsburgh. Obviously, every player is competitive. At some point, maybe they want to go to a contender. He's their most interesting trade piece. So I wonder if he's on a different team in the middle of the year. Actually, we were trying to make a trade for Reynolds. We were offering Dansby Swanson to a team that really likes Dansby Swanson. But unfortunately, Reynolds has gotten off to such a hot start. They're just putting 2
Yeah.
hands around Reynolds. They don't want to move him. But I'm just curious how much longer he's on the Pirates.
So the latest reporting here on Reynolds was that there was contract negotiations up until opening day.
Mhm.
The sort of snag was that Reynolds wanted an opt out, and the Pirates kind of, that was the end of that. That's kind of the holdup as far as it currently stands. It seems like negotiations are still happening, so maybe they still agree to an extension in season. You usually don't see a lot of that, so I wonder if it starts to cool a bit here. But I think the hot start that Reynolds has been off to might just underscore to the Pirates, and especially with the O'Neal Cruz injury, like, hey, let's give the fans like something to be excited about. So we'll
Mhm.
see. Reynolds actually has the highest barrel rate among qualified hitters right now, 29.3%. So pretty much everything he's hitting is a rocket right now. Matt Chapman is actually second at 25%. So they're earning what they're doing so far. But you're right. I think I'd rather have Wander Franco too. And I think the way my drafts unfolded, at least as far as I remember right now, I have way too many teams, so I can't remember. But I think what if I didn't get a shortstop early, the first like 5 rounds or so. I waited a long time. So that would usually skip over Franco, who wasn't giving me a lot of category juice. I didn't think there was a ton of separation between like a Franco and a Nico Horner, who would still give me steals and double digit homers. So I probably skipped over Franco in a lot of leagues and didn't get a lot of coverage there. So I do maybe wish I had him at least somewhere. So lesson learned there with Franco.